Good day, everyone. In this absurd conflict in Ukraine, it's not the battle to save the civilian population from the invading oppressors. This is more like a war of interests, like I did mention. It's certain Western cartels who want to monopolise a fixed pricing supplying energy for the world, applicate and monopolising practically everything, and even the commodities market, and speculating upon it. And the direct involvement of NATO in this conflict is not just supplying weapons to Zelensky, which every time when it goes over the Polish border, strange enough, there's a missile waiting for it and it gets destroyed. Or it gets seized by the Russians, all these weapons end up on the black market. They are NATO weapon standards. They are considered second-hand weapons because they are old stuff which have been in various NATO countries stockpiled and never used. And their efficiency to carry out their tasks is not guaranteed. In fact, is the other day in Transnistria, which the radio transmitter, which was attacked by some strange organisation, believed to be Ukraine, happens to be a breakaway Republic of Moldova, and been hearing stories about there being involvement of Romanian forces with Moldovan, with the Ukraine, to take control of this region. And strangely enough, it's been out on the main media thingy as well, this news. Ukrainian Air Force, suddenly they got planes, and it came out of the blue, all this stuff. If most of their aircraft has been destroyed, and plus their defence systems have been destroyed, and airports, where they get the planes from. People's rumours say, probably a neighbouring NATO country on the Eastern Bloc country, which borders with Ukraine, had supplied these MiG-29 planes and all the logistics for it. Only Poland and Romania have actually in their on service this Soviet model of combat aircraft, the MiG-29, and it's growing more. The Romanians have been giving them support, and a third party has been supplying other aircraft of this type. If so, it's true. That means it's not a war between Ukraine and Russia. It's a war between NATO and Russia. Because without declaring a state of war against Russia, there's more involvement of NATO in defence in this battle. Not enough supplying weapons from NATO countries. In fact, in the past, the Ukrainian military forces were trained by NATO military experts, and currently they are commanded by NATO top brass military generals. They do not make the decisions themselves. Hence, more plausible, there was a NATO responsibility of sinking of that Russian warship. For goodness, then it must have. Yes, probably yes. And it was information provided by a P-8 Poseidon plane, which is a military aircraft which the Americans use for surveillance, basically spy behind lines of enemies, basically. It's a spy reconnaissance plane for tactical uses. And it's most probably they gave the Ukraine forces to launch that Neptune missiles, which is pretty primitive against this type of warship, and also microjamming communications and systems of this warship. Therefore, it was a sitting duck for this attack. I believe there would be more interference apart from NATO and America in some way behind the scenes in this absurd conflict